My name's Lindsey Collins, and I'm a producer at Pixar. I produce Finding Dory, but I'm also the VP of Development and New Media. And my involvement with this exhibit is just hearing about it, because I was busy making a movie while they were doing this exhibit. It's kind of the equivalent of their movie. But I mean, I've been part of so many of the movies that are kind of shown and talked about here that it's almost a little bit like walking down memory lane, walking through this exhibit, because it's so many people I know and so much work kind of represented through this that it's super exciting. I love it. I came here yesterday. It's the first time I've seen it, so I'm like blown away. What I think they really focus on here is all of the technology aspects of the film. So I think we kind of spend a lot of time talking about story being king, and obviously, there's been a lot of talk about that in animation and all of the work that has happened or that is showcased here can often be kind of invisible. I mean, almost like if they do their jobs right, nobody will even notice any of the work because you're so absorbed in the movie you're watching, you don't even think about it. So part of it, I think, was to showcase all of the work that goes on behind the scenes. It's kind of invisible to most people, people don't think about, but also to show, frankly, kids and younger people that the connection between technology and art and math and filmmaking or math and kind of artistic endeavors, those lines are so blurred, and at their best, they're like super balanced out. I'll tell you, there's two departments that are even, like, for me, I'm like, having worked there for 20 years, I sit down with these guys and they're like, all right, let me break it down to you what we're struggling with. So for me, fluid simulation is really kind of just hard to kind of get not only is it hard to do, it's just hard to talk about and get your head around because it's really complicated. Rendering is hard because, I started at Pixar 20 years ago and I remember them saying, so then we have our render farm, and I actually thought they meant it was a farm, like a petting zoo. Just to give you a sense of where I started off on this. I was like, ooh, there's a farm? And they're like, no, it's machines. So, and the render, as you know, has changed pretty dramatically over the course of the last 20 to 25 years and what it can do and what it's capable of. And yet, we still, every film, sit down and spend a lot of time talking about how are we going to get this film on the screen, all of that complexity and work, kind of calculating it all out and going like, okay, how long is this going to take? How many machines do we need? Like, what's the resolution of each one of these images? So much of it is breaking it down into the smallest piece to make sure that we can actually get it all back together and back up on the screen. It's hard to wrap your head around sometimes. What I think is so cool these days is how much, just tools are available to kids that are like movie making tools that used to be you had to have a camera and you had to go out. So much of it is like super accessible. There's so many apps or just on their phones or on their computers that they can actually make things. They can program they have coding programs that are like really accessible for pretty young kids so that they can see right away what it is. If I type all this in and make this thing, I can actually see something move on my screen. And I think for that, it's like, just keep doing that. Make stuff. There's nothing stopping you from make as much stuff as you can. It doesn't matter if it's good or if it's bad or if you're just making it for yourself. Just make stuff. Because that's the hardest part, is actually making something and being like, oh my God, I actually made it. And I made a decision and it's there on my screen and I have it. It's pretty cool.